What is up, everybody? This is Stephen Dutzman. I am the editor-in-chief of EngageFamilyGaming.com. I am also the host of Engage, a family gaming podcast, and the host of the EFG Evening News Update. Today is Tuesday, and it's Nintendo Day. They held their Treehouse Live segment. It's actually still going on. I'm watching it in the background. It's an interview with Miyamoto, which I'm sure is going to be transcribed later on, at which point I'm going to read it. But I didn't want to hold off any longer and give you some of the information. You may have seen stuff popping all over your Facebook feed and various other places if you follow games. If you do not, good, I'm your man. I'll help you out. So first, they started by announcing the name of the Legend of Zelda game. Now, it is worth noting that this is a big deal. For the last, 3 years since it was announced, they've been referring to it as The Legend of Zelda for Wii U. It is no longer the case. Now, it is officially titled Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. No idea exactly what that means, although I'm sure it has something to do with the exploration of this vast and I really do mean vast. They described the landmass and the map in Breath of the Wilds to be 12 times the size of Twilight Princess, which is pretty significant because that was not a very small map. So first they started by just showing a beautiful trailer, which is all over the internet right now, along with with revealing the name. Like I said, Breath of the Wild. Then they moved into Pokemon. They did some live gameplay, which was largely boring. We saw a couple new Pokemon. Nothing. It was when the game started for the most part, after you had gotten and chosen your starter. And they played for about a half hour. Most notably, they got, it looks like they chose Poplio, the circus seal, as the starter. The most notable thing that they did is they actually announced a new multiplayer mode, which I think actually is, I just got done talking to my son and some of his friends because they're done with school about it, and it was something that was very difficult for them to wrap their heads around, which is actually cool, right? Like, it kind of mixes up the multiplayer scenario. The way that it works, it's a 4-player battle royale. 4 players step into the fight. They choose 3 Pokemon each, and they fight in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, taking their turns. Now, when one player has all 3 of their Pokemon eliminated, the game ends. What happens is you get 1 point for every Pokemon that you eliminated, and you get another point for every Pokemon you have left on your team. Whoever has the most points wins. And so my son immediately said, fine, so I'll just use Magnitude and Surf and just AoE all my opponents, and then I'll just win. And I was like, okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to throw Magnitude up, and I'm going to learn. That's going to work once, maybe, because eventually I'll say, fine, I'm going to come out with a guy that flies, so I'm unaffected by your Magnitude attack. And then you're going to attack 3 people, and then you have to wait for all 3 of them to take a turn. In multiplayer gaming, that's referred to as a rattlesnake move, because you're going to get their attention, which, rattlesnake shakes their tail because they want to get attention. But in this kind of a setting, you don't necessarily want to do that. You might want to chill and let them fight each other, and making them all attack you is probably not the best plan. So just watching the gears turn on a 10-year-old when he realized that you can't, that he might have to adopt a different strategy, maybe even form a completely different team just for these team battles. Also, there's something to be said about being able to involve 4 people in one combat, right? So that was the big Pokemon announcements, which I fully support. I think the Battle Royale is a great idea. I can't wait to play in a bunch myself now that I'm becoming a Pokemon master. So they didn't show us anything about, I was hoping that they would show us, like, maybe the evolutions of the starters, maybe their second levels, just so we can get an idea as to where they're moving, but they didn't do that. So then they moved right into Legend of Zelda. We saw basically the demo that they're playing on the show floor. It starts with Link waking up. There's a little bit more technology involved, that's the big piece. There's a little bit of sci-fi here. You pick up this thing called the Sheikah tablet, which you hold on your hip. It's basically a Wii U gamepad for Link. He holds it up, he uses it like a map. There are runes that he can activate on it that you learn that give you different powers. It's basically a Wii U gamepad for Link, and I mean that it hangs there. It doesn't look like a gamepad, but it is black and rectangular shaped. So the comparison is, and there's a handle on one side. So I mean, the comparisons are impossible to avoid. Here is the one declarative statement that I'm going to make. This is a straight up role-playing game. It's not, they are attempting to break conventions. They are breaking rules. Everything can be done in its own order. But most importantly, there is gear that you can wear. And the gear has stats. Most notably, it has armor stats. There are weapons. And you'll find a rusty broadsword, and then you might find a traveler's broadsword, and they have different attack statistics. Now, what's also interesting is they force you to carry multiple weapons on you, because your weapons will break. And they'll break in the middle of combat. So you need to have backups on you. So that's one of the mechanics that you see a lot is you'll run up and you'll hit an enemy a bunch and you'll disarm them, and then you can pick up their own weapon and hit them with it. Things like spears, axes, clubs, swords. They all have different combos, and they're used in different ways and for different purposes. And some of them are kind of hard counters for other weapons, which I think is really cool. The first shield you get is a pot lid. That you steal from some of the guys there. It's really cool. I questioned it at first when they put on a shirt out of a treasure chest and it had an armor stat. I was like, ooh, I don't know if I like this. But the more I saw it, and then I went back and looked at the opening trailer and saw at one point Link was running around like in full plate. And I said, you know what? I think the world is ready for Link to wear full plate, and it really looked good. It didn't really change the game for me, and having different gear sets and weapons, and who knows what kind of stuff we will find. The fact that some weapons degrade, I'm guessing, will also add that extra level of awesome to when you do find the Master Sword, because my hope is the Master Sword won't break. I mean, people watching, do you think it's possible that they would let the Master Sword actually break? Or, and there can't be a durability thing on the Master Sword, right? I'd like to think no. But, maybe if you guys have your own opinions. But shields break. You can actually surf down snow in the snow-covered areas. Yeah, that's what I thought out. But I mean, that would make getting it a little bit special, as far as I can think. But like the shields, you can, if you're on the top of a hill in a snow-covered area, you can actually surf down the hill on the shield. And that you're way faster. The only downside to that is that it actually degrades your shield. So I can imagine, maybe climbing up there with 2 or 3 shields and having one kind of being your dedicated surfing shield just to get down. I don't know. But one of the things that they showed is they're these shrines. There are over 100 of them across the world. And these shrines are all individual. Some of them are puzzles. You basically step into the shrines through like a portal at the top of them. They all kind of look like the top half. I don't know if anybody remembers the first trailer they showed us, the one that looked like a painting and all of a sudden it came to life. That thing that Link was fighting with the laser eyes, it looked like the top half of one of those, just with like a door. And you step through it, and it brings you down into a into like the room, like the I don't want to call it a temple, but the shrine room. And some of them are puzzles, some of them are combat challenges. And what they are is they're designed to teach you a specific, how to fight a specific enemy or how to use a specific tool, how to use the runes. Like one of the shrines that they used in their demo is where you get bombs. So that was interesting because normally we're used to getting our bombs and our weapons and all that in dungeons. But within the first 10 minutes, they found a bow and arrow in a treasure chest. They got bombs from from one of the shrines. Now, admittedly, this was in a demo, so it could very well be spread out a lot. But it seems like this is less about a strict, there's the fire dungeon, and then there is the water dungeon, etc., and really becomes more of this is an open world and you can attack these in any ways you want. Now, they did show in the demo that there was a quest, so you had to go, you were told to go to a specific location, and they went to go do that, but they had an issue with their demo, and they quote-unquote ran out of time, which wasn't supposed to happen. So they kind of abandoned that track, but there's clearly quests that you can do. So this is, a lot of people were saying that when they released Witcher 3 that it was the best Zelda game that they had played in a couple of years. I think that Nintendo, whether intentionally or not, I think they might have learned a little bit from The Witcher. Lots of stuff to do, things that you can kind of accomplish in any order. Yeah, it was pretty exciting. So that's Nintendo. They did some really great stuff. I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with Sony, because Sony did a very good job last night, just killing it with all their different trailers. But, considering Nintendo rolled in and were like, you know what, we're going to show off 2 games and only 2 games, I think they picked a pretty good pair between Pokemon Sun and Moon and Legend of Zelda. And they have a whole nother day where tomorrow they're actually going to feature a whole bunch of games that are coming out later on this year. And I suspect that maybe we'll even see some surprise announcements tomorrow. So that's it for us today. We're actually done with the presentations for now. We're going to get a whole bunch more writing done, and we will see you tomorrow afternoon. All right. I hope everybody's having a great day, and we will see you soon. Bye now.